Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to invite you to the 74th meeting of the Jacksonville Environmental and Appearance Advisory Committee. Our first order of business is our call to order, and we'll move right on to the adoption of the agenda. I ask that the members have had a chance to review the agenda listing, and thank you, staff, for sending it out beforehand. I'm looking for...
I make a motion.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Motion, look for second.
Second.
Second, all in order, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The agenda is hereby adopted. Our next item is the consideration of the minutes of the April 3rd, 2025 meeting. Cannot believe it's been that long since the last time we were together. Thank you, Chelsea, for putting the minutes together. I personally know how much fun that can be. So I'm looking for a motion to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Everyone in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. We have adopted the minutes. I'll have signed copies for you, Chelsea. We open it up to comments from our council liaison, Dr. Washington.
Good afternoon, well, good evening to everyone in attendance tonight. One of the things that I'm going to save for last for Mr. LaCoury and staff is to really iterate our annual participation with our Arbor Day celebration that we have within the city. So with that coming later, I believe that the viewing audience will have an idea about the hard effort that goes into this annual celebration, particularly with our school-aged kids, learning the importance about trees and the fact that we are a canopy city, embracing our trees and not always wanting to cut our trees down, but that the trees do add vitality to our community. So we will have an overview and a look back at this year's Arbor Day celebration. But one of the things that I would like to bring up with regards to our committee is it's no secret that as our federal government begins to talk more about budgetary cuts and what those cuts may look like, one of the things that I feel is going to have an impact is transportation in our cities. We have some individuals whose may be affected with their employment because of employment cuts that currently is being taken place, and I'm looking at the increase in ridership with our bus transportation. So one of the things I would like to see is that maybe at our next meeting, we can have Mr. Anthony Prinz, who is our transportation director and also assistant city manager, to come and to give a conversation about our bus transportation system, and also to provide a map of our current bus shelters that we have within the city of Jacksonville, because there are still some areas that do not have bus shelters. And when you're thinking about environmental, you think about the elements, whether you're talking about the heat in the summer or you're talking about the cold in the winter. I really think about the school-aged children, because when I'm getting up to go to work in the morning, I see the kids standing out. If it's raining, they're either in their parents' cars waiting for the bus stop, or they're gathered on the porch to protect themselves from the elements. They're hovering around in the wintertime, or they're in their parents' cars waiting in order before the bus picks them up. But I believe that it would be feasible that as some citizens are going to be negatively impacted, what can the transportation department do in terms of providing bus shelters, not just for our school-age children, but I also think about parents that may not have adequate transportation. And if you have young children and you're needing to go to the grocery store and you're thinking about putting your children on putting them on a bus system, but there is nothing to protect you from the elements, that can certainly have an impact on us. So I would like to see us have a conversation. And with that, when you see our bus shelters, they just have like the regular blue bus shelters, but we have some very talented students within our community, and I think allowing students to do some of their own Art Deco to kind of spice up those bus shelters in order to have some more attractability. So it's just a conversation that hopefully that we can have Mr. Prince and his staff, and maybe one day before it gets too late in the season, maybe the committee can actually be able to take a tour on one of our buses and just to go around in certain neighborhoods and to just view our neighborhoods within the city of Jacksonville.
Well, we can definitely make an invitation to Anthony and the transportation staff to come, and I feel certain that they'll be happy to come and go over some of that information with us all. And as far as getting the buses, much like we did for Christmas and Halloween, we can definitely do that too.
It's a great idea to tour the cities.
Yeah,
It's great.
take a tour of the city. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is a presentation from the engineering department. Amy Kimes is a civil engineer. She's the city's new city engineer. She has taken the spot of Andy, I believe.
Nick was here last.
Very good. Okay, so she's going to give us a presentation this evening. Thank you.
Before she gets going, so Amy's come to us from Surf City, but by way of Wilmington. She's got a little bit of background in this, and what she's going to talk to you tonight is hopefully near and dear to all of our hearts. And if she's able to, she'll maybe even share something about some other projects that are affecting Jacksonville in a positive way. And I'm not going to spill the beans. I'll let Amy talk to you about what she's going to share with you tonight, and hopefully we're excited. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank y'all for having me tonight. A little bit more about me. I have worked for DOT, Department of Environmental Quality, in their state stormwater program. I've worked in transportation planning with Wilmington, traditional planning with town of Surf City. I also worked with private engineering on the new base entry point. So I've been around Eastern North Carolina quite a bit. I am a local from North Carolina, or from Eastern North Carolina. Grew up not too far from here in Beaufort County, so local-ish, I guess. So anyway, Michael reached out and asked us just to talk a little bit about Newbridge Street out here. So I've only been here 3 months, so my background isn't that detailed on some of this, but we'll go through that a little bit and kind of talk about how engineering can help with some of the beautification of the city, which I don't have a slide on because we're just going to throw that in at the end. So this is the section of Newbridge Street that we have mostly finished. We've reached substantial completion on this project. We have a little bit of paving left. I know y'all have seen the signals are out there blinking, so they have to flash for 7 days before we can turn them on. So on day 7, which we're going to wait until Monday. So on Monday, those signals should go and be live, and the stop signs go down and all the cones that are associated with those stop signs. So it'll really clean up that intersection. So in this project, we were able to stay within budget. We contracted for a certain amount. However, we had contingency money in there. Anytime you open up an old street like this that's been widened over time, there are things under there that you would never expect, that you certainly don't have any idea that's there. I wasn't here for that part, but I did do Broad Street in New Bern when they did a similar to that, and we found wooden conduit, wooden pipe under there, ship ballast. So there's all kinds of things under the road that you can't account for. It may have gone down in the 1800s or early 1900s. So even with that, we were able to stay under or within what the city budgeted for the project. So, we're pretty proud of that fact that we did not blow the bank on this project, because you just never know. So from an environmental standpoint, why did we do this? We worked on the storm drainage out here to provide to increase our pipes. We also changed some of the direction of the piping to reduce the flooding, because as y'all know, there's a lot of flooding out here. We also provided additional vegetation. Anytime you provide non-pervious surface, you're increasing the amount that's infiltrating in and keeping that from running into our streams and ultimately to our river. From a beautification standpoint, we landscaped the medians, we added the landscape bulbs at the end of the parking. One of the biggest things, I think, from a beautification is moving the utilities underground, just getting all of those power poles and all of that underground. However, that becomes a challenge in itself, because you've got now so many things underground and all of the conflict points and, figuring out around that. We also upgraded the pedestrian accommodations throughout to make this a more walkable area to help increase foot traffic and try to bring people back downtown. We've had a few new stores open since during construction and since construction. And then we added the new street lighting and the traffic signals that are the pretty pedestal poles instead of the string light signals. So just wanted to show a couple of pictures of kind of the concept and what we thought we were going to do and how it kind of looks in reality. So this is just a few pictures I took last week looking down. So on the left, you'll see the concept, and in the right, kind of how that came to be. We also worked with Parks and Rec to try to make sure that the plants that we're putting in here are going to live. There's nothing worse than putting in plants that the engineer or landscape architect from somewhere not local put in there that are going to die quickly. So we try to be collaborative with our projects and include the correct people. So again, just another picture kind of looking from the other end, looking back down with our rose bushes, and you can see the new street lights and, just that pretty view without any of the overhead, and especially the overhead that crosses back and forth. That's what really grabs your attention. So, as you can see in this picture, all of that is missing. And then this is our intersection here with the signals. Luckily, I took the picture at just the right moment, and the red light is showing instead of it being on flash and being off. That really worked out well for me. I was kind of surprised when I got it. But, one of the things you'll notice is this flower bed by the stop sign in the bottom right. That bulb out allows for a shorter crossing distance for pedestrians, making that a safer crossing movement, and that's one of the reasons we like those bulb outs. It provides a place for them to stay and shorten that time. It helps with signal timing as well, but it makes it a much shorter crossing. So that's kind of just an overview of that project. So the city is looking at other projects. We have Old Bridge Street Infrastructure and Streetscape Project from East Railroad to Ann Street, which is in our CIP. It's a bit out. It's fiscal year 32, but the city is looking at that and looking at updating and trying to bring that life back downtown and into areas that's not seeing as much movement. We as engineering don't have a lot of say in where we pick, but we do have, we get to build these projects, which is really cool. And the interesting thing about engineering, having been in the planning side and then the engineering and kind of back and forth, it's nice to go home at night and be like, I did this today, or I helped to do this, or, this changed and that changed, and we fixed this thing, versus I wrote a plan that says in 20 years we're going to fix something. So that's been fun for me. And then, as y'all know, stormwater, Pat, everybody knows Pat, right? Stormwater falls under us, so we administer the stormwater program and the erosion and sediment control, so we do all of those permits. One of the things we're doing is kind of working with Pat to bring some of that back into engineering a little bit, because Pat is great at finding money and going out and doing things and talking about how great the city is and the things that we've done. And I want her to be able to focus on those things and going out and saying, Jacksonville is great. Look at the things that we're doing from an environmental standpoint. We're cleaning up the river. We're taking responsibility and accountability for the things that we've done in the past. And we want her to be that spokesperson because she does a really good job at it. So you will see engineering doing a little bit more of the boring paperwork side so that Pat can be the spokesperson for us. We are currently working on restoration projects throughout the New River Basin on our tributary streams, wetlands, and floodplains with those. So stream bank restorations, floodplains, wetlands. We have $20 million in NOAA grants, which is pretty awesome. We are continuing, though, to go after additional grants. We're trying to get a grant in the Georgetown area to alleviate some of that flooding. I can upsize a pipe all day long, but if I can't fix the stream, I'm going to cause additional problems. So right now, we're looking for stream restoration funds so that we can, help with that. I also can't lower the river. So there's only so much I can do to move that water. So by creating those floodplains, we'll be able to, hold some of that water and keep it from backing up and negatively impacting people. And then, of course, engineering provides construction management and design review on the majority of projects that come through the city. So engineering is a fun group within the town because we get to touch so many things, not just ours. An example of that, and one that I've worked on with Jason a little bit recently, is the Inspiration Field, which is going to be our ADA field. We started with just traditional pipes on that for storm drainage. It's flat out there. Things don't drain in flat. So, we had to look at some new options. So we worked with Jason. We now have a nice recessed landscape bed that's going to soften that from the parking lot. Instead of going from the parking lot straight into the backstop, you're now going to have a large flower bed with the opportunity to put a sculpture or something like that in there. So if y'all want to be thinking about sculptures. So, we're trying to incorporate those kinds of things into our projects and not just think linear engineer roadway sort of ways, like let's just get the water through a pipe to the ditch. We're trying to figure out how can we help treat that water a little bit, even if it's not permitted. So this is not a permitted, it's not required by our stormwater permit. This is something that the city is looking at putting in for beautification, for water quality, and a chance to put up some signage and, we'll use some things that attract butterflies and important pollinators so that we can put some signs and, and kind of teach the community about it. We're better to have that kind of environment than at a ball field where you've got kids coming and going and families all the time. So those are some of the things we're working on. Obviously, a lot of things we can't do beautification on it. A sewer pipe in the ground doesn't really get beautified. But when we can, we do add those elements, and we're trying to be more cognizant of that moving forward. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Amy, I have just a comment, and I'm sure, thank you for the presentation on Newbridge Street, because it's getting a lot of attention and everyone is interested in it. And this is probably not under your purview. Perhaps Dr. Washington can help us get some clarification. There are 2 condemned buildings in the middle of the project. You can see them right there at the end of the block that's been redone. They have a big red X on the front of them, courtesy of the Jacksonville Fire Marshal, which means they're unsafe, don't go in them. I'm interested to know, is there any plan on the city's end to remove that black eye on this beauty queen down there? I've had several people in the neighborhood ask me, does the city have any plans to do anything with those buildings and what can be done? But I don't know the answer to that. Maybe we can find out.
I'm not aware of any. However, I know we have worked with property owners and have helped remove buildings and whatnot. I know there's interest right now also, as the downtown is revitalizing, in either revitalizing some of those buildings or buying the property and putting something else up. I think that we are entering a transition phase for downtown where we're going to see, private funds coming back in, and hopefully the city won't have to be the one.
Yeah, it's the private funds are already there, Amy, and people have invested in their own money in, but the city has a long history of helping with those kind of issues through controlled burns that create training for the fire department and different things like that. But it's just, the timing to me is just interesting because the project is so beautiful, and it's just, to me, it's a black eye on a beauty queen.
And right now, there is discussion, and some of those discussions is still taking place in closed session, so.
Good to know. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Amy or any comment on her report? Thank you so much, Amy. Thanks for coming to us, and welcome to the best city in Eastern North Carolina.
You know, I've worked at a few cities and for the state, and this is a good place.
Yeah.
It's a good place to land.
Yeah, I wasn't born in North Carolina, but I got here as quick as I could. I came here 30 years ago following my military husband. Thought we'd be here for a 3-year tour, and you know, I said we can live anywhere we want to live, we can live, but we chose to stay right here, and I'm very glad that we did. It's a great place to raise children and work and play and now retire, so we're really happy to be here. So we are going to turn this over to open discussion, and Mr. LaQuarrie is asked to address the group.
Yeah, and before we get into some of the things that I had initially wanted to talk about, you know, Amy brought some things up about the downtown area, which hopefully you've noticed when you drove in that the front of City Hall has been re-landscaped. We did that intentionally to tie in with our streetscape, and we'll continue those efforts hopefully forever, you know, to always try and beautify. We're never going to be done with that. But really what I wanted to focus on is the teamwork part of it. You know, it was very key for me hearing Amy talk about making sure the right people are at the table. And what's really important to myself and the park staff, and I know Jason, is being involved in any landscaping, because at the end of the day, we're going to be the maintenance group of it, and it is important for us to be there from the ground level. In a lot of cases, and New Bridge is a good example of that, we did the actual work out there and planted those plants, and it doesn't mean that we're better than somebody, but what it does mean is we're more susceptible to when we run into a issue, to maybe know how to solve it instead of trying to figure it out because we didn't put it in. And it does help us in that. Does it stress us a little because we've got to pick up some work that maybe we don't? I think from the city's end, it's worth it, way worth it in the long run. And you know, obviously we work with Amy and we work with Pat, and all of us work together really well. And I think that's an example of that. And I wanted to share that and jump on what you said, because I think it is important. If we're gonna be successful, all of us, and I think that's the key, we're gonna have to work together to do it. We may not always agree with each other, but we've got to find a happy ending. So, you know, I think we can both probably give it a little at times and still get the common goal done for all of us. And I think we have a lot of that at the city, and we're going to continue to have that, I feel certain. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about Arbor Day. Obviously, we had our Arbor Day celebration at Thompson Early Child Development School, and we took a group picture actually, and this is one of our group pictures. You know, we had talked about having it at Thompson, and you know, we've never had it at a school that was at that age group. And, you know, this worked out way better than I could have imagined or dreamed. It went very well. You can see the plastic shovels that some of the kids have. The director, Miss Davis there, bought in so well to Arbor Day that she went out and bought her class the shovels so they could feel more a part of planting those trees. And I thought that was awesome that she had that much buy-in to what we were doing out there. We had a nice crowd from the community, and obviously we had good representation from our staff. And this is just a picture of some of the kids, but obviously these are, you know, it's fun every year when we do Arbor Day because the kids get such a kick out of this. And short of, and I know we talked about this a little before the camera got on, but obviously the ceremony went well, and Beth, you did awesome, and Jason doing the chicka chicka boom boom, and the kids doing what they did. I thought it was a great event that day, and it's something that we all can be very proud of, and you know, Arbor Day is a special day, and I think that day was as special as any we've ever had, to be honest with you. So, look at them all in there. I mean, they're you know, this is how we teach stewardship and ownership for kids for their future, and I think that's important. And I think, you know, if we get 5 of them out of that group that understand that, I think that's good. We've done, you know, we're doing our job. Hopefully we'll get more than that, but we have a good staff that buys into it too, and works with the kids when they shovel the dirt in the hole, and it's fun. And we even had Mr. Blackman out there and Mr. Ray out there participating in it. We had a couple of the school board members were out there, so that was pretty cool.
Really great.
It was great. And if you weren't aware, I wanted to share with you about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, give or take, we had an opportunity to, well, let me say that a little differently. You know, we have to put mulch out every year, and you know, there are large areas that we have a lot of mulch. Jack Amiette would be one, Northeast Creek. These are larger areas where we have a lot of islands with landscaping, and we really don't want to put stones in those areas because they're in parking lots, and their kids are going to be around those areas. And we were getting 3 tractor trailer loads of mulch, and that's not 3 dump trucks, that's 3 tractor trailers. That's a lot of mulch. And, you know, timing's everything. We had an opportunity. The base had reached out to us through some of their Marines. We were able to procure about 20, 25 of them, give or take. And we were able to put these 3 tractor trailer loads out in the span of a day, basically, dividing them up and conquering, and putting a group of them at Northeast Creek, a group of them at Jack Amiette, and a group of them down at Sturgeon City, working with our staff. And, you know, no matter what type of equipment you have, this is labor intensive. This, at the end of the day, the equipment doesn't really help, you know, so what a bang for our buck we got getting that out and doing that in a short amount of time. I think, again, it shows, I know Mr. Ray is always talking about partnerships, and this was a great partnership. We were able to get a lot done in a very short amount of time, and the city got a really good bang for its dollar out of that, and I think that's important to share with you, and I wanted to do that. And last but not least, I wanted to talk about Jack Amiette. If you haven't been over there, I want to remind you that the Jacksonville Ospreys play over there, and that season has started. They had opening night this past Saturday. I think over the weekend, they had a game Saturday, Sunday, and Monday at Jack Amiette, and I think they had over 3,500, maybe a little higher than that, maybe like 3,800 people attend. That's a great thing. If you're looking for something to do, Jack Amiette's ball field looks good. Obviously, we spend some time on that, trying to make it look better each day and trying to make it look presentable for teams in that league when they travel from out of town and come to Jacksonville. You know, we talk about the wow factor. We want them to get out of their vehicle and go, wow, we don't have anything like this. And that's good. You know, we want them to go back home and say, hey, you should see what Jacksonville's doing. Look what they've done. And so we're really proud of the work we're doing over there, and we wanted to make you aware of it. And I'm sure if you have some free time and you're looking for something to do, it's a good family fun atmosphere for you and your family maybe to attend. And I wanted to share that with you. Thank you, Ms. Beth.
Thank you. We're still in our open discussion. Does anyone else have anything they would like to bring before the group? Ms. Washington?
I have something. I know it's been a couple of years maybe since we had a brief from the folks that do the roads in the city.
Streets Department?
Yeah, is that coming up anytime?
We can do that. We can do that. maybe 2 months after, 4 months from now.
Okay.
We'll have, we'll make the invite to Mr. Prince, and then we'll see if we can.
Sometimes just traveling around, I see some spots that are just repeated offenders, kind of, right by the fire station of Huff out there. I don't know how many folks go by there. Huff, the fire station right there. It seems like every year it's broken up
It's
there.
rough, yeah.
And I think it's a spec place right before.
Yes.
But every year it's like that. Matter of fact, all the way down Huff Drive. But that's just one area that I noticed.
I can talk to Mr. Hanson about that, absolutely. And maybe we can get him to come in 2 months also.
I have a question. Years ago, there was talk about getting signage for when you came in where all the new trees were planted.
Yes.
Do we have an update? Is that something that,
So
to let people know what that is?
So I know that was talked about years ago. I think there are some challenges, and I'm not going to be an expert on this. My recollection was that I think DOT had some concerns about a sign going. You're talking about, I think, the Grove specifically.
recall that as well.
Just want to make sure. I think there was some challenges with putting a sign up there through DOT's eyes, and but it's not a conversation that I can't ask whether, and Anthony may be a good person to talk to about that. And I can definitely make him aware, and maybe it's something after 2 months from now, I wanted to say next month's meeting, after 2 months from now, meeting, maybe that's something we can have a conversation about, and obviously I'll surely make him aware of it.
I know I think it's been about 2 years ago, Ms. Sunshine brought this up in the meeting, and I had a conversation with Senator Lazara, so.
Yeah, I recall the lighting was a huge challenge.
With the light pattern.
With the lighting, and they were able to, we drove by it last night, my husband was like, what is that anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell him, but it was lit.
But
So,
they can still find an answer.
Yeah, that's right.
It was stated that they were going to put a sign there, but they can still find an answer to do it. They just gotta want to do it.
got it. All good ideas, all good things. Anyone else have anything? Does the staff have anything? Okay. That ends our open discussion. Our next meeting will be towards the end of the summer, Thursday, August 7th, right here at 6 o'clock. Hope to see everyone there. We have no other meetings to bring up and nothing to be determined. At this point in the meeting, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Sunshine.
Second.
Thank you so much. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're so efficient, 36 minutes. We're so good. Thank you, everyone.